This is Amy Agenda. With me now, the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister, Senator James McGrath. First of all, the government's being accused of dirty deals in terms of the changes to the Senate electoral process. What's your reaction to that in terms of the Greens and the fact that Labor's saying there'll be many more votes wasted, people disempowered in terms of their voting intentions?
Oh, it's a bit rich for Labor to accuse us of doing dirty deals. What we're proposing is implementing the J-Scam report, which Labor backed when that report was brought in. So Labor are the ones who've done a dirty deal with themselves. They've had this internal fight between Gary Gray and Senators Wong and Dastyari and Conroy. What we're doing actually is empowering voters so that voters have the ability to make their own decision as to where their preferences go, rather than, rather than dodgy deals being done by political parties in smoke-filled backgrounds.
But what Labor's saying is that there are more wasted, there'll be more wasted votes, essentially, that 20% of the population vote for the minor parties and then they're not getting a look in here.
They are getting a look in because the voters will go one for minor party and then they'll use their own brain, their own mind to distribute those preferences. The votes aren't being wasted at all. What we're doing actually is sort of bringing in the House of Reps voting system into the House of Reps. So the voters go one in one box and then fill the remaining boxes. I don't see what the controversy is about these reforms.
And so in terms of the reforms, though, you've annoyed not just, elements of Labor, as you say, some of them support you, but others like the micro parties, Bob Day and Ricky Muir, Lionhelm and so on, they'll be very hard to deal with beyond any such reform, which we expect to go through in the next 24 hours. So does this make a double dissolution inevitable?
I don't know what the Prime Minister's thinking is in relation as to whether there would be a double dissolution, but I do know that some of those senators you mentioned are very decent and principled people, and I hope regardless of what happens, they would look at each piece of legislation that comes to the Senate on its merits, rather than the politics as have the Labor Party and some of the other minor party senators.
In terms of the Safe Schools program, the anti-bullying program, a lot of backbench concern in your party about this. Has the Minister, the Education Minister, had a significant enough review to placate your colleagues? It does not look like that's been achieved at this point.
Well, what I know about it is that I, as a Queensland Senator, have been contacted by a number of people who have genuine concerns about the Safe Schools project. Other backbenchers and ministers from Queensland have had the same feedback. Those concerns have been fed into the government. The Minister is doing this review. It's going to be released publicly along with his response. What I think we should do is wait until the Minister releases his response rather than getting ourselves into a bit of a froth and bubble.
Is it another challenge to the Prime Minister's, the authority of his leadership?
No, not at all. Backbenchers have genuine concerns over the content of this Safe Schools program. They've done the right thing by expressing their concerns to the Minister. The Minister's done the right thing by having a review. Let's wait until the review and the Minister's response is released.
Now, you've seen the criticism of Scott Morrison, that his shadow minister saying that his position is basically untenable and that the overall government's been drifting. The question is, what's the Prime Minister been doing for the 6 months? What's your take on where the government's at overall, just a few months out from the election? Are you comfortable where the government's at?
It's all going terribly well. The next election has been defined over the last couple of weeks. We see what Labor want to do, which is simple. How do you spell Labor? TAX. They want to bring in taxes. Look what they want to do with negative gearing, which is going to destroy the housing market. Look at what the Liberal National Government have done. We've had the Defence White Paper, we have the Innovation Agenda, we had the changes to the effects test yesterday. This government is getting on doing things because we're looking at transitioning the economy from the old economy to the new economy. And over the coming weeks, there'll be other announcements. The budget will have our long-term tax plans coming in. So the next election has been defined. Labor, more taxes, coalition, long-term economic plan.
Minister, thanks for your time. We're out of time. We've got to check in with Labor now.
Oh, happy St Patrick's Day, by the way.
Well, thank you, of course. And we had a similar message from my next guest, Tony Burke. I spoke to him also of Irish Heritage this morning. Here he was, the manager of opposition business.